Okay, last but definitely not least, we'll be wrapping up with James Tagg, the founder and CTO of Truphone. And I have your presentation here. Slideshow. Good. And the flicker.
It's been taken.
Somebody might have taken the flicker. Might have been me. If not, well, you can always just use
the down arrow. Okay, so I'm James Tagg. I'm from Truphone, and a bunch of you asked, sort of, what are we? So we are not a traditional mobile network, but we are a mobile network. And we don't have any antenna masts or physical hardware, but we do have a complete telco stack. Everything else that a large, enormous operator would have, we have. And the difference for us is that we distribute that around the world. So if you were a US operator and you had two of your customers go off to Sydney and Melbourne and phone each other, generally speaking, the telephone numbers would route back because you're phoning a US number. So you go back into the US system and come back through to Australia. Equally well, if you're going into the internet, you would almost certainly go back through Amsterdam, through the IPX system, GRX system, back to the USA, drop out the internet, and then go back to Australia. And what you have, if you have that, and you have people who are becoming very increasingly global and moving around a lot, is those web pages tend to stutter, because the average web page these days, Amazon, is 14 different domains, and it's all assembled on the fly. So the page you see, which looks like your Amazon page, actually got pieced together from all sorts of different servers, and each of those is a transaction, and it takes time to build a page. And so it's a real advantage if you can actually drop all of your data locally. So we have 6 data presences around the world, but we do all of our signaling and all of our control and billing in just London and Amsterdam. So it's built like, if you were Amazon or Google and you sort of built one from the ground up, you wouldn't build operator stacks in each country. You'd build one somewhere, and then you just distribute the pieces that you needed out into the world. And so that's sort of what we've done. And therefore, a transaction, typically for us, all the data stays locally, and just the authentication goes back to London and Amsterdam. So that's what we do. So I was sort of trying to put together some what's the future innovation, Boston grid type thing, and I thought, well, that's pretty bland. What we really have is a tsunami of innovation coming towards us as operators, and obviously I have the kind of luxury of both being an over-the-top internet-y type guy with the original Truphone applications and so on, as well as having a big GSM core network and being a regular sort of GSM type telco. And so given that actually half my family is Japanese, so given that I had the sort of the Japanese kind of theme, I thought I'd use the elements, and these are the Japanese elements. The Japanese have one extra element to the ancient world of earth, fire, air, and water. They also have sky, or the sort of the ether, or space, or whatever you want to have. So this is my sort of ancient elements version of the Boston grid. So what do we have to do if we're looking at what the future is? So I think the future, we have coverage, cost, I don't burn our customers, making things simple. When you go mobile, things become more complicated than they were when you were sitting at your desk, and things that you can do when you're mobile that you simply couldn't have done before. And then I've got some weird and wonderful things, because you all like weird and wonderful things. So, coverage for us is very simple, and for most mobile operators very simple. We cover our customers everywhere in the world. But we don't, let's face it. If you go up a tall building in New York, you don't get coverage. If you go into a basement in Moscone Center in San Francisco, you don't get coverage. If I go to my home in England, I don't get coverage. If I go to my sister's home, I don't get coverage. Right? Cellular coverage is still very poor. And what's going to happen next year is Wi-Fi is really going to step in and start pulling and start filling in the spaces that were left over by cellular. And the nice thing about Wi-Fi is pretty much a world standard. Pretty much the same everywhere in the world, so we don't have to go through the small cells sort of difficulty of licensing spectrum in each country to deploy it. And the big telcos haven't really embraced small cell. It's extremely difficult for a very large telco to spend, say, 25,000, half a dozen truck rolls, put an access point in my farm, right? My home, my sister's home, right? Whereas I can go to Amazon, buy a Wi-Fi access point, it gets delivered the following morning, and I do the truck rolls. I set it up. The other thing that we're doing, certainly a number of people are doing, is using WebRTC, so that now your mobile phone is wired again. So you can go to an internet cafe with a wired terminal, and you can get to your mobile phone. Your mobile phone becomes virtualized in the web. You can get to your contacts, you can make phone calls, you can use your account. Wi-Fi today, well, that's a terrible picture, but anyway, this is our Portuguese office. There's a Wi-Fi access code typed on the wall. That's going to go. We're going to be able to automatically get to our Wi-Fi assets. And we'll be doing WebRTC next year. Gloss over that one, just in case it's an international incident. Fire, right. So, one of the things we've done since the last TAD hack, I think we hadn't done it quite then, is that we've brought 66 countries into bundle, and we would hope to add some more. So for our customers, as you travel around the world and transact, use data, voice, SMS, it's all in bundle. So certainly for those countries, and they represent about 85% of the travel that most business people go to, that's just something you don't have to worry about. You don't have to worry about, I'm going abroad, what's the price of voice, text and SMS in this country versus that country, and all these sorts of things. And I think that is a trend that's going to continue a lot. So for example, some stats, our customers typically double their usage because now they can use their product when they travel, but their price overall goes down by about 30%. So it's a big change in the way that they behave. And actually, it's the change in behavior that's more important. So people say, is Truphone just like a pricing arbitrage play? You just make it cheaper to travel. And actually, when our customers get it, they find that they change their behavior. It's a different experience. And there's nice things like our customer service is 24/7 worldwide and is distributed. So if you lose your phone in America, we can get you to a phone in replacement same day. Whereas if you were an English customer and you lost your phone in America, you'd expect to come back to England, get your phone replaced in England, then go back. So we're completely global in that respect. And we have shared data plans so that companies that have employees in London and New York can have a data plan that both employees use. So we're trying to get people into bundle. And I think what's going to happen over the next few years is people are going to stop being out of bundle. So everyone will be in bundle, which means the answer to the question that was posed earlier is will be people buying voice and data and SMS? No, I don't think they will. But I don't think we will move super rapidly to something that just ignores the amount of usage and the amount of quality that a customer wants to have, because we still have the fact that some of the things that we do when we're traveling are very expensive to do. They just are. I mean, if you go to Nepal and you use your mobile phone, it costs a lot of money to put mobile phone masts all over Nepal and so on. So there are some things that are quite expensive to do, and they're just going to cost money, satellites and so on. But in general, we're going to have bigger and bigger buckets of minutes that are shared. And we're going to see an end. This is a poor lady who got a £1,200 mobile phone bill for downloading some video for her kids. So we're going to lose that over the next few years. So, making things that are, when you're mobile, are more difficult. Now, I was going to do a video for this, but I thought it'd be much more fun to act it out. So, let's imagine that I was going to join a mobile phone a conference call shortly, right? Now, I've come up on stage, and I've got my mobile phone, but the problem is my conference call numbers are very long. They're 8 digits, and I unfortunately can't remember an 8-digit number. So I've got a phone as a telephone number, remember. So what am I going to do? I'm going to panic, right? So what I need a pencil and a bit of paper. So a bit of paper in here, right? I don't know, oh God, I'm going to have to write it all down, because what's going to happen is I'm on a mobile phone. So halfway through the phone call, I'm going to go through a tunnel, or I'm going to lose the call or something, and then I'm going to have to dial back into the conference, and I'm going to have a look at my piece of paper and so on, and type it all back in and get back on the conference call. And what I don't understand is why mobile phone companies, operators, let that happen, right? Internet companies generally don't. If you see a behavior, right, all the internet company startups, they go to college and they're taught to look at customer behavior. And if you see some customer behavior that is really bad, aberrant, then start a startup and make £1 billion, $1 billion, $1 billion whatever, right? Because that's what you do. And so when you watched Apple build the iPod, I mean, there were 400 music players when Steve Jobs built the iPod, and they were all pretty good. And he built it, and he built a really great one. He watched all of the behavior that didn't work, and he fixed it, and that's why that product was great. So what's now happening is you open all your APIs, or we open all our APIs, I should say, is that the internet guys are going to be able to. So the reason that we have these dreadful behaviors in some of our core products, like the inability to join a conference call, and we look embarrassed in the process, the reason that we have those is the internet kind of startups have been unable to get in and do stuff. Now, as the APIs open, they're going to flood in and build all these interesting services and fix a lot of the problems that we have. Water. Things that you can do. Someone's given me a slide build, fantastic. One of the things that we do is we give you multiple numbers on your phone, and the advantage with that is that you can look as if you are you're working in multiple countries at the same time. So you can look as if you're a New York banker, even though you're a UK banker or whatever. Other things that we're able to do with mobile devices that you just couldn't do before are things to do with the fact that we move and travel. So you have ski apps, you have health. I think that health is going to become a huge feature of the mobile phones, and they're going to be able to tell us whether we're ill, whether we're well. They're going to give us pulse oximeters on our fingers. They're going to know what our heart rates are, what our oxygenation is, how much we've eaten for dinner. You're going to be able to point your camera at a plate of food and it will say that's 372 calories, and if you eat that, you'll be 3% ahead or behind of your fitness goal for this month. So they're going to become much more personal, and these are the sort of things that operators could be involved in. Weird and wonderful. High definition voice. I think we're all going to go high def. I think we're all going to start controlling our homes. People are very worried about the environment. If you control your home, you don't waste fuel, you don't turn your heating on when you're not there, your phone can do it. Your phone can know you're not at home and automatically do it. It's got all those abilities. We're going to get silliness and video coming in, right? Operators, we tend to be quite conservative, sensible people. I think we're going to get a lot sillier. It is possible that mobile phones are going to go away, right? We could wear the devices and they could project the image into our retina. And this was a blog post I did earlier in the year. This was direct-to-brain signaling. So this is actually making him calm down. This is an input to his brain. But equally well, there are outputs, right? You can now do neurogaming. You can buy things to put in your head and control World of Warcraft and Call of Duty. And in fact, there's two things. You can control Call of Duty so that you can shoot the aliens without moving your hands, and you can wear another device that will make you feel fear. So you feel really scared as the alien gets you, right? And it's actually injecting current across your fear center. One last thing, and this is obviously a shameless plug for my book, right? Is that language is going to change this year, right? Real-time language translation. You can already, with Google Web, translate any website, just read websites and sort of do stuff. But real-time audio translation is going to come in this year from quite a few of the large vendors. So I can speak to you and you hear your native language, obviously probably with the idiom and certain things completely mangled. I heard the wonderful sketch where someone was going, apple of the earth, to a Frenchman, right? So we're going to have lots and lots of humour over the next years as Google Translate automatically audio translates us into a garbled mess. But I actually am going through this experience myself because I'm launching my book in Spanish, right? I don't speak Spanish, so I'm actually launching my book on Friday in a language I don't speak. And the internet allows me to do that. I can go on Amazon Advantage in Spanish and upload the book. I can't actually do it right now because the Wi-Fi has crashed in this room. But in principle, I can do it, and I can press and I can put a book live in a language I don't speak. And then I can get all the Twitter feeds of all these people saying that the book is absolutely fantastic. And I can reply to them, unfortunately, in dreadful, broken Spanish. But that's, I think, one of the things for the future. Am I an over-the-top service or a network? One of the questions that was asked. I don't know. I don't think that those exist anymore. You need to provide over-the-top services over your own network if you're a network. That's it.
Excellent. Thanks so much. Do we have any questions? We have a question at the back there, Karen.
Simi here.
Test.
You mentioned about the Wi-Fi implementation across the countries. Are you talking about the WiMAX? And how does it play out with the upcoming 4G or LTE implementations? And how would this be implemented across the countries where there are no coverage?
No, I'm not talking about WiMAX. I'm talking about Wi-Fi. And I'm talking about the Wi-Fi that you would have in this room or your home or your office, where you can use that as if it's a cell. So that's IWLAN standard. There's 2 or 3 different standards that are competing to win that space, UMA, IWLAN, and so on. But that's what I'm talking about. WiMAX might be very interesting for my laptop to get data over a longer distance, but generally I'm either in cellular coverage, or I'm in a Wi-Fi cell, or I'm traveling in between the two and I don't really care, right? Just in general. So that's the thing I'm talking about that I think is going to happen.
On that topic of Wi-Fi, how do you deal with multiple conflicting requirements for which Wi-Fi you connect to when? I mean, I've got 2 or 3 different profiles on my phone. Yeah, and it might be that I've got the conference preferred Wi-Fi, your preferred Wi-Fi, Vodafone's preferred Wi-Fi, Apple's preferred Wi-Fi, and my employer's. How do they all fight it out?
Well, you write an algorithm, and the algorithm would say if Hotspot 2.0 use that because it's probably going to be better, then log on to whatever you can. Then our handset applications ping our server with 50 representative packets that are similar to an RTCP, a UDP packet, and see what you've got. And then they log and remember which ones say they've got good signal but are actually rubbish, and which ones are not good, are good. And you have a sort of quality metric for each of them. You're talking financially, right? I mean, financially also, there's an algorithm that goes through and says which ones are cheap, which ones are free, which ones have I not used up my bundle of, and all that stuff. You end-to-end encrypt most of the stuff anyway, so you don't care about security and privacy because you assume that what you're using is insecure, and you just tunnel through it.
Excellent. So with that, let's show our appreciation for James. Thank you so much.